the radical, fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this Thursday night. I hope everybody's having a fantastic week, and it's weekend time, getting ready for the weekend. I am. I need some rest, man. I mean, it's been intense. I don't know what's going on. It seems like every day is busy. You know, doing 2 shows a day sometimes. I'm doing interviews. I just did a long interview today on art. I'm doing mentoring for the Ayn Rand Institute. I'm teaching 2 classes a week, 2 hours each for the Ayn Rand Institute. Every one of those things requires prep. I don't mean to complain, but I'm exhausted. So I'm ready for the weekend, although, of course, I continue working on the weekend just to be able to relax a little bit. All right, today we're going to talk about, quickly, not a lot, I hope, on IQ. We'll talk a little bit about IQ, just to correct some what seemed like misunderstandings of my positions about IQ in a lot of the comments on YouTube. And then also, kind of as a result of comments on YouTube, I want to talk more about atheism, morality without God. Can that exist? Can that be? Morality without religion. It seems like a lot of people seem to think that, they themselves can be moral without religion, but those other guys, oh my God. And they would rather live in a place surrounded by religious people than surrounded by atheists. So I thought I'd comment a little bit about that. I thought that was interesting. It's a perennial topic, this issue of atheism, morality, religion, all of that. So we're going to cover it all. You could help out a little bit by going on like Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and just letting people know the show is on live right now. Maybe we can get some more live viewers. The more people we have watching live, the easier it is also to get to our $650 goal, which is the goal for these live shows at night. Hold on one second, I have to do something. Sorry about that, but it was getting too hot in here, so I wanted to lower the temperature. Okay. Yes, where were we? If you can go to Twitter, if you can go to Facebook, if you go whatever, just let people know the show's going on. We're talking about IQ, we're talking about religion, we're talking about those evil atheists, we're talking about ethics. I mean, topics that people are typically interested in. All right. So and just a reminder, Super Chat is available. You can use the Super Chat to support the show. You can do stickers. You can ask questions. All different amounts are available, up to $500, I think. And also want to remind you, if you want to support the show monthly, Patreon seems to be the favored. Patreon's a great way to do it. Sign up for Patreon. You get information from me, but you get to support the show, and PayPal using yaronbrookshow.com/support. So let's talk quickly about IQ. So IQ. I'm skeptical, and I've said this for years now, about having one test standardized across all cultures, all places, that supposedly measures your intelligence. I suspect, and from the reading I have done, I suspect and strongly suspect that intelligence is more complex than something captured by one number and one test. Intelligence is something that definitely exists. There are very intelligent people. There are very unintelligent people. There are pretty dumb people out there. The idea that I don't believe in intelligence is bizarre. And I even believe, and I've never denied this, that there is a genetic component to intelligence, that you're born with a certain level of intelligence. And I think that's malleable. I think that can change. I think what you do with it is what matters. But the idea that we don't have some capacity, some capabilities when we're born, that would be a bizarre point of view, and I don't know anybody who holds that. So yeah, we're born with a certain capacity for integrating abstract knowledge of all kinds. And here I consider abstract knowledge also practical achievements, because you can't do the practical without some ability to abstract. We're born with a certain capacity, and then it's what we do with it. It's what we do with it because of our own choices. It's what we do with it because of the education opportunities we have. It's what we do with it because of the way we grow up. But probably most importantly, it's what we do with it based on the choices, decisions that we make as individuals throughout our lives. So, yes, intelligence has a genetic component. No question about it. I've never denied it. But it's also true, I think, that IQ does not capture our entire intelligence, and is not a particularly good measure necessarily of our intelligence. And that it is influenced by culture. And that IQ tests given in different cultures give different results. And IQ tests given across timelines, if you take an IQ test today and give it to somebody 200 years ago, is going to have different results. And it's a complicated process. So now, IQ test worthless? I don't know, probably not. From what I've read, they certainly are good at identifying the lower 10% or the lower 20%. Are they any good above that? It's questionable. Do they really predict income and everything else? Probably not very well. Nassim Taleb is a curious fellow and a difficult one. He's not an easy person to get along with. But he is, in certain realms, brilliant. And he's a jerk, and he's worse than a jerk. But he is really, really smart in certain realms. And he has an interesting article out there that challenges a lot of the methodology and the statistics behind the IQ tests and the way they're used and the way correlations are found between IQ and things like financial success and other success. And he thinks IQ is complete BS. Now, I'm not going to go that far, but yeah, I think way too much emphasis is put on IQ. And he says, look, the only measure of real objective measure of success is wealth or income, and he claims there's very little correlation between IQ and income. Again, interesting statistical debate, but I would argue that from everything, again, I know, and I'm not an expert, but from everything I know, IQ is one measure. It's not the only measure. It's not the dominant measure. It doesn't explain intelligence as a whole. No standardized test can do that. Maybe it's a first approximation. Maybe it's complete BS. As I said, intelligence has a genetic component, but how big is it? How important is it? How do you control for other factors? I don't know that anybody knows how to do that. And it's curious to me that the same people who massively distrust so-called authorities and experts in many realms, particularly experts and authorities who are on the left, generally, of the political spectrum, as almost all professors of psychology are. On the IQ stuff, they buy in 100%. They completely buy in. Maybe because Charles Murray and Jordan Peterson make a big deal out of IQ. But they completely buy in. They have no problem doing it. Suddenly, experts and authorities matter a lot. And this brings me to the second point. I don't care about IQ. I don't think anybody should care about IQ. Let's say IQ did indeed reflect intelligence. Okay, so different jobs might structure different standardized tests to test people's ability to do the particular things that are necessary in that job. I know Wall Street tests people on particular skills relevant to particular applications of the job. I'm sure, I know Amazon does all kinds of tests. Google, Apple, they all test your abilities, your intelligence in one way or the other. I don't think any of them use a straight IQ test because it's not relevant. So I'm all for testing relevant tests. I'm all for testing aptitude, ability at a given point in time when you're applying for a job, when you need something. Beyond that, why anybody cares about IQ is beyond me. And this is the thing, that I am suspicious of people that constantly talk about it, that bring it up at every opportunity, that make a big deal out of it. And note that a big chunk of those people, or maybe not a big chunk, but a big chunk of those people tend to be either psychologists who do this professionally and have some kind of vested interest in this particular measure, and here's professors and so on, or it's a lot of race realists who, it's what they call themselves, who want to convince you of something and use this as a pseudo-scientific way of convincing you of it. Because otherwise, why care? Why would it ever come up in conversation, the phenomena of IQ? Why is it an issue in a political or philosophical or moral or cultural debate? Why can't you just say, yeah, some people are stupid, some people are not. People have to get smarter if we're going to have capitalism. People are going to have to be more aware. People are going to have to, but IQ, a particular number, measurement. Now, I served in the Israeli army. People tell me, oh, you can't get into the army with IQ below, 90, whatever. Well, I don't think that's true in the Israeli army. I don't think we were tested. There was no IQ test for the Israeli army. And I met some of the dumbest people I've ever met in my entire life in the army. I mean, really people with very, very low intelligence. They could still drive, they could still do stuff. I mean, Jordan Peterson claims that below a certain IQ, you can't do anything. It's just not true. There are lots of functions that the military needs that people without a lot of intelligence can do. A lot of functions in economy that can be done with low intelligence. And indeed, one of the things that AI and intelligence does is it makes people who are dumb smarter. But so my objection is to this obsession, this constant talking about, and I think that for many people, it is just a guise for racism. It's just a way for them, again, to appear scientific and to hide their racism behind a pseudoscience. Not that the science is pseudo, it's that their use of the science is pseudo, because they don't know what they're talking about. Again, there's such a thing as a standardized test called the IQ test. It measures something. I don't know exactly what it measures, a certain aspect of intelligence in a particular context, in a particular time, in a particular culture. And so be it. Who cares? And almost every company I know that uses intelligence test doesn't use IQ test. It uses a test customized for their particular needs. And that's the way it should be. And I'm all for testing when it's appropriate in the right context. All right, quickly, let's see if there are questions about Harper Campbell says, if you had a debate or discussion with Jordan Peterson about IQ and success in life, it could definitely go viral. Yeah, it ain't gonna happen. I'm not gonna engage with Jordan Peterson on the issue of IQ. There's nothing to be gained from it. He knows the literature. I don't. That's the reality. He'll cite papers. What am I gonna say? Wait, let me call him Nassim Taleb. Again, I've read papers that contradict that, but I can't just cite them. It's not my professional thing, and I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't go. If I'm going to discuss something with Jordan Peterson, it's much more likely to be, the morality. It's much more likely to be support for Putin. It's much more likely to be success in life broadly. Is there such a thing as selfishness? All those things are things worth debating Jordan Peterson, but not a discussion of IQ. It's not valuable, and so yes, there's a lot of stuff that is worth hashing out with Jordan and using his platform to get visibility, but you have to pick and choose the right kind of topics. All right, Andrew says IQ is not a barometer of self-esteem, which should essentially be measured in moral terms. Tony Soprano had a high IQ and gets very defensive when his therapist asks if he puts importance in that. Tony Soprano does have a high IQ and probably has in some form of high level of intelligence. And what does that get him in life? Nothing. And what value does that serve? None. Again, it's one measure of one aspect of intelligence. It's not capturing your intelligence, one aspect of it. And yeah, self-esteem has nothing to do with IQ. And success, real success in life doesn't have anything to do with IQ. Ryan says, share, and like the show. Yes, please, like the show before you leave. Clark says, part 1, intelligence clearly has a lot to do with options available to you in life. That's true. It's how you develop, and part of the development is partially it's going to be determined by the opportunities that you face, the opportunity set that you face. And the scope of your capacity is largely genetic. Yeah, I mean, the capacity is largely genetic, but not the actual manifestation of your intelligence. If you happen to be born with low cognitive horsepower, that doesn't mean you have to be a criminal or homeless, but you are going to have a much harder time navigating the world. Maybe. But I think we've made the world so much easier for people with lower cognitive horsepower. If you can't do math, there's a calculator on here that can do, really, really complicated mathematical equations. Super geniuses could do it all in the head. I'm probably somewhere in between, right? But I don't have to memorize anything mathematically. It's all right here. There's so many tools. If you don't know how to spell, if you never paid attention to spelling class or grammar classes, Word will correct you. So I think that, and indeed, the number of jobs available will expand, particularly with something like AI. For lower intelligence people, they'll be able to access information, they'll be able to access knowledge that they could never access before. Research becomes so much easier if you're just asking the machine a question, rather than having to go to a library and do real research. So in every respect, the modern world makes it easier for people with low intelligence, and I'm not using IQ here, with low horsepower, to actually navigate and actually do well in the world, right? It's the same as it used to be. You used to have to multitask to drive in a new city. You drive and you have to look at a map, and it was just hard. And now with the iPhone, anybody can do it. Anybody can go drive in a new city and feel completely comfortable. James, intelligence is such a multidimensional thing. Absolutely. It's hard to capture it all in a single number like an IQ test. That's right. You can't. And it doesn't. And again, it's multidimensional, and it's impacted by so many different things. And your genetic capacity, if you will, is only one narrow dimension of your intelligence. more broadly. All right, let's see one more. Hopper Campbell says, does financial success have to do with temperament as much as intelligence? I know truck drivers who aren't too bright, who make more than I do, but I don't have the temperament to spend 16 hours a day driving a truck by myself. Yeah, I mean, everything has to do, look, how much money you make has to do with a lot of things that have nothing to do with intelligence. They have to do with conscientiousness, responsibility, self-responsibility. They have to do with focus. They have to do with motivation. They have to do, more than anything, with character. And, of course, with temperament. I, for example, would be a great truck driver. There were periods in my life where I used to tell my wife, okay, I'm just quitting and I'm going to drive a truck. There's something about being out there on the open road and just driving that I love, right? So, how well you do financially has to do with the market, has to do with supply and demand, whether other people are becoming truck drivers. It's a popular field. Prices might, wages might come down. It depends on so many different things. It certainly is not correlated to one measure called IQ. It's not correlated to almost anything. But a lot of it has to do with your character, your temperament, and your interests, your passions, your values. There's so much there. And yet, you want to boil it down to one number and claim it's all genetic? It's complete nonsense. All right, Andrew. Well, God, I thought the IQ thing would be 10 minutes and we'd be done, but here we go. Another glaring point for objectivists re IQ is why would we care about or want to spread a particular epistemology if we thought intelligence and success was set at birth? I agree. It's just we're not deterministic beings. Whatever your capacity is at birth, it's what you do with it that matters. It's the choices you make. It's how you use it that matters. So you got to put aside this dogma of IQ. And again, usually it's just a way to express, I think, for many people, not for everybody, kind of racist views without actually having to come out and say them. All right, I'm going to get a lot of unsubscribes from this one. I can already see Action Jackson turning this into an individual video, and then everybody kind of leaving. All right, Frank says, IQ in Shawshank Redemption, the prison guard describes his brother who dies but got rich in oil wells as being stupid. Don't need book smarts. Yeah, I mean, but IQ is not clear that it's book smarts. What is IQ? Is it book smarts? It's your skill at taking an IQ test. And what does IQ actually measure? They're not very good at articulating what it is exactly. Dave says, what's the IQ requirement for the IQ test designers? I don't know, but, Dave, thank you. First super chat from Dave. And he comes in with a dinger on IQ test designers. All right, one more from James. Not all success is set at birth, but some people are born on third base. Let's not pretend like they hit a triple. I don't know I know what that means, but I don't get the point. It's what you do with your life. It's what you do with your life, not where you're born and how you're born, which is the determinant. And it's much more the other way around. It's much more that people are born into situations that are horrific for them and still manage to create a great life. Those are moral heroes. Those are really amazing people. Those are the people we should be praising. I think it's less important if somebody's born into a good situation. We should all be born into good situations. Wouldn't that be great? The sad thing is that most people born into good situations don't make a lot of it and misuse it and lose as a consequence. So first base, third base, second base doesn't really matter. What matters is what do you do with whatever circumstances you have. And yes, it's certainly sad that some people are born into families that abuse them. Some people are born into such poverty that they can barely eat. Some people are born, and let's work for a culture where there are fewer and fewer of those. So where we take out the worst of the worst gets taken out, and people at least have, because of the wealth created and because of the freedom that people have, at least are not born on negative 55 base, that they at least have some reasonable beginning on which they can build in themselves. Some people are born with such mental deficiency, such intelligence deficiency, that they cannot manage in life, but that is incredibly rare. It's still incredibly rare. Most people have enough to do well. And again, let's not obsess about the rare cases. Let's not obsess about the marginal. Oh God, you guys are. I'll keep going with these questions as long as you have them. Fine. Gail says, shouldn't we be skeptical of IQ tests considering the mixed economy? Who designs them and why? Yes, I mean, they're designed by again, psychology professors. They're designed to test something that they can measure and they can understand. They're designed to be able to compare to the past. And we do live in a mixed economy. We live in a mixed philosophy. This is why what I like tests that are focused on particular professions, because there's what do you call it? There's a failure rate, right? If a certain bank chooses to evaluate its candidates based on a certain test and it's a lousy test, then they're going to hire lousy people. And another bank that uses a good test will do better in hiring people. And word will get out, and the good test will dominate the bad test. And there are companies out there that sell different tests to different types of companies in order to test people's intelligence with regard to a particular job, particular profession. So, that I trust much more because it's being market tested. It's being tested in the marketplace. And there's a fail rate. So, but I'm not sure I trust stuff that's being done by academics who I'm not sure what they're measuring, why they're measuring, for what purpose they're measuring. And who other academics are saying, well, wait a minute, we don't know why we're testing, what we're testing for. And then I've talked about this many, many times on many, many different issues. But the whole use of statistical methods and how they use statistical methods and how they infer things from the statistical methods they use, this is some of what Nassim Taleb talks about. It's just suspect. And statistics is hard. And with all due respect, there are a lot of people who go into the humanities who are not particularly math-oriented, who learn a few statistical methods, and then use them, and then they get papers published and stuff, but they don't really know what they're doing in terms of the statistical methods they're using and the inferences they're making from them. So it's very, I don't trust happiness studies. I don't trust a lot of the, and of course, you also get a massive replicability study, crisis, where they can't replicate results. That also should cause us to be suspicious. So, and suddenly, the people who are pointing all this out, about all the problems in the humanities, and all the problems in these studies, and all the problems with these statistics, and all the problems with the inability to replicate studies, but IQ is the one area I trust these people completely, blindly. And if they tell me this is IQ, and this is the distribution, and this is the inference, absolutely. The same people who I don't trust one iota on anything else, I trust on this. And that suggests to you that maybe they're not being completely honest, or maybe they're not being completely kosher in terms of their motivations of why they love this so much. J.J. Jigbee says, my stepdad, now in his 70s, used to read the encyclopedia as a pastime, as did many of his peers. Today, information is readily available and vast, yet young people know little. Tools mean nothing if people have no interest. Yeah, it's what you do with the tool, how you use it, and whether you're interested in using it, and whether you can advance, whether you can achieve anything. All right, line drawn on the issue of IQ. Let's talk about morality and morality and religion, and the relationship between morality and religion. Also, just a quick reminder of to ask questions. I know we had a lot of questions, but most of them were $5, $10 questions. We really need a lot of $20 questions or some $50, $100, $200 questions like that to get to our goal. Remember, the evenings have a significant higher threshold, but it's important to get those done so that we keep doing these. Keep me motivated. So I got a bunch of comments on the issue of religion and atheism and the new atheists and Kissin's article about we need something for morality, and most people can discover it by themselves. So this is why we need religion, and atheism doesn't provide anything. And indeed, qua atheism doesn't provide anything. Atheism qua atheism is just the recognition that there is no God, that there's no such thing, and that religion, by relying on God, is just bogus. It's just fairy tales. It's just make-believe. It doesn't tell you then what set of ideas are rational, make sense, what kind of life you should pursue, what morality looks like. It just, all atheism does is say, this is fantasy. Don't take this seriously, because it's not based on logic, not based on fact. There's no reality to God or religion. So that's what atheism does. And then it's up to you and it's up to you even if you're religious, it's up to you no matter what, to make choices about what kind of moral codes you want to guide your life. But you see that the challenges, and this is the challenge new atheists have, is one of the things religion has inculcated deep into our culture is that the fundamental purpose of morality is to dictate how we treat others and how we relate to others. And that the standard of morality is the other. Not God maybe, but the other. So, if you become an atheist, but you still hold the view that morality fundamentally is how I should treat other people, and that the standard is the other, okay, where do I get where does that code come from? Where does this idea of the other being more important than me somehow, or what do I do with that? How do I know how to behave to other people? What are the rules that should guide me? And it's a little bewildering. And I don't think as a consequence, people then become lying, cheating, stealing SOBs and murderers and whatever. But it is now a challenge. They're kind of naked in front of life without any tools to guide their morality. But they're still stuck in Christianity. They're still stuck with religion, and they don't know it because they don't associate the belief in God and belief in religion with a particular morality. They think morality is the same, no matter whether you're religious or not, no matter where it comes from. And this is to some extent the fault of the new atheists, who basically concourt all kinds of ways and all kinds of means to justify their conventional morality in atheistic terms. But it all seems like a concoction. It doesn't seem right because it's not based on any reason, rationality, reality. It seems like they're just replacing God with, well, this is all we know. Do unto others as you were doing to yourself. Don't hurt other people. Don't lie. Don't cheat. But that's all the guidance we have. That's morality. That's it. It's a list of don'ts, commandments. We don't have God to give us commandments. So we need to use our moral instincts. Turns out people don't have moral instincts. We need to just follow the Christian ideas. Just don't call it Christianity because we don't believe in Christianity. We don't believe in God. And people are stuck. People are stuck. They don't know exactly what to do. And again, they try. They do all the right things, but without a proper morality, it's hard to achieve happiness. Without a proper morality, it's hard to be successful in life. Without a proper framework for thinking about life, it's hard to be successful at it. So a lot of people who become atheists fail. And then some people blame their atheism for it. Or a lot of people who become atheists, maybe they don't fail, but they feel like they might fail. They feel like they're going to fail. And as a consequence, they give up on atheism. Or they give it lip service. Or they become agnostics. Or they become something. Very few of them become religionists, but some of them do. Look at Dave Rubin, right? And Kissen won't exactly tell us where he thinks he gets his morality from. But they all think they need to get the morality from somewhere outside. That's what they've been taught. It's the only option they have. The article is an article that Kissen, what's his name, Constantine, wrote about, and I talked about this on a previous episode, wrote about basically being enamored with the new atheists when they first appeared, and then basically becoming agnostic, and now kind of not really saying, but understanding how important religion is in the lives of so many people. And you get a lot of, and there's a lot of people out there talking about this. There's a lot of people talking about the emptiness, the fact that we now have in America and in Europe, we have growing percentages of people who define themselves as atheists. And we also have growing percentages of people who are depressed. We have growing percentages of people who are lost, confused. And of course, they link the two, even though there's no evidence of linking those two. Constantly kissing. No, I don't know what that is. And there's a lot of people who say, no, the solution and what we need is religion. Or a lot of people who say, yeah, look, atheism is true. There is no God. But look, most people can handle life without religion because they can't handle life without morality. And there is no morality without religion. His name is Konstantin Kisin, Kissin, Konstantin Kisin. Thank you, Rob. And you can find the article online. Here's an example. This is from one of the comments on my video. I'm an atheist, and I also think that most people need some sort of religion in their life. I'm not sure why many people need that in their life, but they do. But how do you know they need it if you don't know why they need it? How do you know it's a need? How do you know you can replace that need with something else? With reason, rationality, an objective morality, a morality based on reason and rationality. So right off the bat, we just assume they need it. And partially it's a certain, and I think a lot of young atheists have this, it's a certain arrogance of, well, I don't need God, but they do. Can't trust them. Can't trust those guys. They're low IQ people or something. I don't know. I don't think it's even correlated to IQ. But they're not to be trusted. I'm okay as an atheist. I can live a life, but they can't. Then he says, even as an atheist, I would rather live in a town with a very high Christian population than in a neighborhood of atheists. I don't get this. Why? Why would you want to live in a town surrounded by irrational people? Surrounded by people who believe in a non-being, a non-entity, who are guided not by reason and rationality, but by commandments and by revelation. Why would you want to live in a town surrounded by people who are, who are basically advocating for a primitive ideology, a primitive philosophy, a philosophy that maybe made sense 1,000 years ago, but is completely debunked and refuted and gone. So, these are people who rely on their emotions. These are people who can't handle the world without a super being. Why would you want to live amongst them? As compared to atheists who at least don't have that problem. And which makes atheists open to, guess what? Arguments, reason, persuasion. Whereas with the religionist, it's a book. It's written in a book. My preacher told me. It's in a revelation. It is what it is. So I don't get it. I would much rather live, by orders of magnitude, surrounded by atheists than surrounded by Christians. He goes on to say, clearly there are people that have a sense of morality without religion. A sense of morality? What does that even mean? What does morality mean? But not enough people do. Religion gives enough people the sense of morality that society needs, that it is a new benefit. It is a new benefit, as long as one is not a fundamentalist about it. I think he meant net benefit, that is a net benefit. But here he has a super narrow view of morality, a view of morality that Christianity upholds. That is, that morality deals with other people. That is, morality is about not hurting others. It's about not killing, not stealing, not cheating. And that's all he cares about. But that's such a poor man's morality. That's such a pathetic view of morality. Morality is about giving you the tools to live the best life that you can live. Not just about how to deal with other people. And if you're concerned about dealing with other people, if you're concerned about being robbed and being stolen and being cheated, is there any empirical evidence that suggests that murderers and thieves and muggers and violent criminals tend to be atheists and not religious? Any evidence of that? Indeed, since the 1990s, the United States has become more secular, and violent crime has declined in the United States. Now, again, correlation is not causation, but it certainly doesn't look like it's the other way around. You'd expect Europe to be a lot more violent than the United States. And where Europe is violent, it tends to be violent because of religious people, Muslims in this case. So where's this correlation? Where's this causal relationship between atheism and religion and violence and treating people badly? I don't know of such a correlation. Neighborhoods that are predominantly atheistic, more violent, more crime-prone than neighborhoods that tend to be religious? No. So it's all just bogus. It's all like a sense of you have. At least they have God watching over them. Oh, it's like you've listened to Dennis Prager videos too much. It's like, no, take away God, and these people are just going to rampage and rape and pillage and slaughter and kill everybody around them. It's not reality. Not reality. And then he says, would you rather, this is the funniest one, would you rather live in Los Angeles or Salt Lake City? Now I'm asking you guys in the chat, where would you rather live? Los Angeles or Salt Lake City? This is one of the dumbest questions I've ever seen. It isn't even close. And look, I hate Los Angeles. I really dislike Los Angeles. It's not a city I want to live. But if you gave me a choice between living in Salt Lake City among a bunch of boring Mormons or living in Los Angeles, I'm going to Los Angeles in an instant. It's no competition. Yeah, Los Angeles is probably more violent than Salt Lake City. Probably. I'll take the risk. I want to be around interesting people. I want to be in a culture. I want to be stimulated. I want interesting stuff. I want to be able to have a conversation with people. I mean, what are you talking about? And I want to at least have the possibility that people are rational. I mean, when people start talking to me about religion and God, I don't know what to do with them. Where do you go with that? What do you do with it? I find it the most boring, unsatisfying, distracting possible place you could think of. And by the way, I think the neighborhoods in LA, primarily where the atheists live, that are just as safe as Salt Lake City. Just as safe as Salt Lake City. But why would you? I mean, have you ever read what Mormons believe in? Why would you want to be among a bunch of people who believe in the complete and utter ridiculous nonsense that Mormons believe in? I mean, it's completely weird and bizarre. I mean, when I look at somebody who tells me, oh, I'm a Mormon, I'm a practicing Mormon, I go, whoa, you just dropped a few rungs in my evaluation of you. That's nuts. So I don't get this admiration for Christians. Then he says, I get your discussion of past Christian, Jewish, Muslim behaviors, and sadly many Muslims today. But come on, Christians and Jews and Muslims are not acting like that like they did a few centuries ago. No, they're not. But they have the capacity. They have the capability. Most of the communists I meet today are not acting like Stalin. But give them the right circumstances, give them the right power. I have a feeling they'll do the same thing. One of the great achievements of the West, one of the great achievements of the West is that they separated religion from politics so that we took away that tool of oppression, that tool of violence that Christians had. And he says, now if you could get everyone trained up to understand that you don't need religion, a god or gods, to know right from wrong and how to behave morally just from yourself, and then I'm on board. But people just seem to want religious founding for their morals. People want that, but they're wrong. And we need our responsibility to teach them that they're wrong, because they are only because morality is much greater than what they think it is. And this is the beauty. Once you get rid of religion, once you get rid of some being up there dictating to you, telling you how to live, guess what happens? This amazing, exciting thing happens. The world actually opens up to you. What's good is now accessible. What is good, the options of what is good expand. And the standard by which we evaluate what is good is not now some being telling us, thou shalt not. It's reason and rationality. And the orientation of morality now is not just don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. It's what should I do? Suddenly, when you're free of religion, the question becomes, what should I do? And there's a really, really important question that goes along with what should I do, which in religion you're not allowed to ask. It's why. Why should I do that versus doing that? You have options, and you have to understand what you're doing. And what happens when you abandon religion and you embrace a scientific morality, a morality based on human survival, human flourishing, human success, is suddenly you discover that morality is not a set of restrictive, scary commandments, but morality is now a tool that opens the world to you. It's a scientific tool to discover what is good for me, what is good for life, all human life, and what is particularly good for my life. And how should I live? And what should I do? And how should I do it? I mean, how beautiful is that? How amazing is that? I mean, religion is boring and stupid and narrow and offensive and restrictive and scary. There's a God there looking and evaluating every thought that you have, never mind the actions that you take. Suddenly you're the only one evaluating. And it's your job to discover success, to discover a life, to discover how to live it. And yeah, that's in some sense scary. Not really. I never felt scared by that. It's liberating. It's exhilarating. It's motivating. I have this tool, this amazing tool that is going to guide my life, to help me be more successful, to help me live well, to help me be happy. And now, what does morality demand of me? I mean, Rand's morality demands of you really one major thing. But it's a thing you'd expect as a human being you want to do anyway, because it's in your nature. What does Rand expect of you to think? Think, figure it out. Use reason. Be rational. Rationally evaluate a situation and decide how you should act. Be guided by rational principles. Principles that are there not by dictate, but are there because they are the means to an end. The end of your survival, the end of your happiness, the end of your success. And notice that morality, if morality as a guide to living a good life, morality as a guide to identifying right and wrong, is impossible in religion. There is no morality in religion. All there is in religion is following orders. All there is in religion is doing what you're told. I don't have to do the Abraham example again, but, is Abraham moral for agreeing with God's commandment to murder his son? Yes, he's the symbol of morality according to all the Abrahamic religions. There's a reason they're called Abrahamic religion. It's because he is an emblem of morality. Because morality for religion is mindlessly following. Following in any case. Doing what you're told. Accepting. That's not morality. That's figging suicide. That's the anti-morality. It's immoral. So, no, embrace atheism, not as an ideology, but as a door, a little door, that opens you up to this vast world of possibilities. And then it's really, really important to find a morality. And Ayn Rand's morality, objectivist morality, is a morality that unleashes your potential by unleashing your mind. To not just think about how do I obey, but to think, how do I live? How do I choose the best life possible to me? What values should I have in order to be successful at living, at being, at existing? As compared to religion, God, think about how much more interesting, fun, expansive this becomes. And, objectivist morality is beautiful because it's testable, and you can actually go out there and try it. You can test it. You can figure out what works and what doesn't. It's consistent with reality. It's grounded in logic, so if something doesn't make sense to you, don't do it. Go back, figure it out, test it. It's rational. You can see the connections between the things, but if you're still not sure, you can rethink it, redo it. It's like science. It's like science. Does it make sense based on the principles? And does it work? Got a testable hypothesis. Lying is bad for you. You can check. You can test it. Be careful. Experimentation is risky, but you can test it. I tell people when I give a talk on honesty, I say, you don't believe dishonesty is bad for you? Spend the day lying to your best friend. See what happens. They all laugh. They all know exactly what the result would be. They've all tested it already. They all know. So it's not a commandment, thou shalt not, and it's not even lying that objectivism is interested in. It's be honest. Don't accept falsehoods. And therefore don't communicate falsehoods. But don't accept falsehoods. Don't deceive yourself. Facts, reality, that's what matters. What an amazing morality that is. What an amazing path that can set you on in life as compared to, again, dogma. The limited scope of dogma. And dogma that is set, that says right in advance, we don't care about you. We care about God. We care about the world. We care about society. We don't care about you. Here's a morality that says, no, you're it. All right, Troy, thank you. Really, really appreciate it. Troy came in with 500 Australian dollars, as he does pretty regularly. I really, really appreciate the support, Troy. He usually does it, almost always does it on one of these rants that I give about morality or about something positive about the objectivist virtues in some way or another. So really appreciate that. All right, what else do we want to cover? So, the bottom line is life, to have meaning, you need to take control over it. And that can only happen by giving up on mysticism and religion. And morality, again, should be a guide to success, not a list of things that you have to do, not a list of things that somebody else requires that you do. It should be things that you have identified, proven, shown to yourself rationally that you should do in order to achieve the goal of living, of being successful at it. So, I think that it's sad that so many atheists are turning away from atheism and going back to religion. I think it's laziness, but it's more than laziness. It's cowardice. It's basically an admission that they don't want to do the thinking, that they don't want to put in the effort. And it's not even like they don't know about Ayn Rand. Many of them do know about Ayn Rand. But it's too hard. It's too complicated. It's much easier to say, and this is the appeal of religion at the end. The appeal of religion is, I don't have to think. God tells me what to do. Priest tells me what to do. Tradition tells me what to do. Somebody else tells me what to do. And there we go. Just do it. Religion is for lazy people. It's for people who do not want to take responsibility over their own lives, but people do not want to take responsibility over their own minds, don't want to take responsibility over their own values, don't want to take responsibility over their own happiness. They want somebody else to tell them. And again, this is why religion opens the door up to all kinds of authoritarianism, because it's the same thing, right? And people maybe replace God with other forms of, maybe secular forms of religion, like environmentalism, like wokeism, but it's all the same thing. It's other people telling you. Oh, we've got a Jesus thumper on the chat who's somehow discovered us. I have no idea how he got here, but he has discovered us, and I am warring against Jesus. Yes, I am. I am warring against Jesus, and therefore, I guess I am Satan, the devil, whatever. Oh, God. I mean, this is the kind of nonsense that you get, right? The kind of nonsense you get. Not argumentation, not debate, not discussion, not reason, but just, authoritarian, yelling. Everything's all caps, and it's like, you are the devil. Why? Because you disagree with me. All right. So be it. So I encourage everybody to you got to take your life seriously, and that means invest in studying a morality, invest in internalizing that morality, invest in working it, in living it, in integrating it, in making it part of you, so that you can gain the benefits from it. And it's incredibly liberating. It's incredibly liberating as compared to a religious morality, which is so stifling at any point. Ragnar says I should turn the other cheek. No, I don't believe in turning the other cheek. They don't either, it turns out. I'm actually reading a book now on just to give you a sense. I just finished a book about the culture of growth, the culture of economic growth, and the what he calls the cultural entrepreneurs between 1500 and 1700. So the lead up to the Enlightenment, or the beginning of the Enlightenment, really. So from Bacon from Francis Bacon to Newton. And it was a great book, and some amazing insights and really good stuff, a lot of good stuff in it. A little academic, particularly in the first few chapters, but once you got into history, really good stuff. And then now I just started a book today, I started, on the history of Christendom. So the book is from Constantine, from the reign of Constantine to like the end of the Middle Ages. So I don't know, 1300, something like that, 12 something. So the establishment of the church as a political force in Europe. So I'm looking forward to that. That's a history I don't know that much about. I know bits, but I'm reading this history, and then I really want to delve into the history. So I think Ayn Rand Institute is doing a conference in Amsterdam next year in March, and I want to go speak. I'm lobbying to go speak. So I'm actually going to try to immerse myself in the history of Amsterdam. I'm really, really interested in the history of Amsterdam. I'm interested in in the history of Amsterdam. I think it's a birthplace at the end of the day of a lot of what came to be capitalism. It's a birthplace of many market concepts, but it's also the birthplace of some of the thinkers that started the whole revolution towards individual rights. Grotius, I think, was in that area, and Pupendorf in that area. So I'm really looking forward to reading on the history, the intellectual history, the actual history of the Netherlands. Anyway, to prep for my talk in Amsterdam, which will be on the origins of capitalism. Robert Swisher, a first-time super chatter. Wow. Thank you. Really, really appreciate you being here. Really, really appreciate the support. Thank you for doing a super chat. I love first timers. This is great. And we're only $61 short of getting to our goal of $650. Actually, $750 would be a little better to achieve our our first 10 days of the year of the month would be great to get to $750 to get to our goal. But $650 would be fantastic. Just $61 away from that. Hopefully somebody will step in and get us there. All right, let's take some questions. Let's see. Gabriel says, on the topic of morality without God, I was raised Catholic and have had to work very hard to unlearn a lot. I still catch myself feeling guilty without reason. Thank you for introducing me to Ayn Rand. It has saved my life. I really appreciate that, Gabriel. Thank you for thanking me for recognizing. But I really appreciate hearing these kind of stories because, you know, I'm here in my office with my microphone, and I know some of you are out there, not that many, but and to know that what I do touches people's lives and actually has an impact. And I can't think of a bigger impact to have on somebody's lives than to get them to read Ayn Rand. I mean, wow. I mean, that is fantastic. I feel a certain, a huge appreciation to the guy who got me to read Atlas Shrugged for the first time, even though we're not friends anymore. But I still remember that fondly, and he will have an important part of my life because he led to this, and it's an honor for me to have that role for so many of you. And this is what I do it for, right? I mean, people ask me all the time, when's the culture going to change? When is it going to change the world? It's one mind at a time. It really is. And what it means to say one mind at a time is it's Gabriel, it's other people, it's one at a time. And you know, there's a Jewish saying that, it's religious, but it's I think it's really, there's something really profound about it. Something like, by saving one person's life, you've saved the universe. And there's a truth to that. I mean, what matters in the end is individual lives. There is no such thing as a collective, as a society, as a culture, as a world, other than the individuals in it. So anyway, that was a long way of saying I really, really appreciated, Gabriel, to hear the story. And I'm happy to have served that function. Ragnar came in with $50, and because Troy got us so close to the goal, Ragnar, I think, got us even closer, and then Andrew pushed us over, and then Mike just patted it a little bit. Now, I'm going to change the goal just because you did that, Mike. I'm changing it to $750 formally, because that's really what I went into the day thinking. We need to get $750 to get our monthly number in. But this is great. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the support. I appreciate it from everybody. We've got 75 people watching live right now. We're $71 short of our $750 goal, so it should be doable. Andrew says, a major barrier to integrating objectivism was moral. A friend's major barrier to integrating objectivism was moral. He was tormented by the inculcated phrase to be a mensch, a second hand for sacrifice, and which psychological meaning was to feel guilty for putting himself first. Yes, to be a mensch is to put other people first. To be a mensch is not just to be nice. That's one kind of loose, shallow interpretation of it. But it's to be a good person. But what does a good person mean? A good person means is to put the interest of others first. It's to always consider other people. Don't think of yourself first, think of yourself last. It's what every Jewish mother teaches her kids. And most Christian mothers teach their kids. Think of the other first. The other is what makes you a good person. You become a good person through the work you do for other people. Versus objectivism, you become a good person by living the best life that you could live for you. By pursuing your rational values, not somebody else's, your own. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard because we live in a culture that at the religious level is super altruistic, And at the secular level is super altruistic. And people don't know that there's an alternative, and when they encounter one, there's so much to do to undo all the cultural influence, all the religious and secular, philosophical, cultural, in the air influence on you. Jennifer, with witty quote from Mark Twain. I love Mark Twain. Mark Twain is great. Faith is believing in what you know ain't so. Yes. I mean, deep down, they all know. Do you really think the Pope believes? I mean, all of them? Some of them, the way they behaved, clearly did not believe there was a hell. So, yeah, I mean, I think deep down, you have to evade not to know that it ain't so. But Mark Twain's a good example. I think he was an atheist. I think he was an explicit atheist. And he just had a personality from reading him and from his attitude. He just had this fantastic, sense of life and personality. And I think it's a real shame that kids are probably not going to be reading Mark Twain because he's politically incorrect in the world in which we live. But Mark Twain really embedded a certain American attitude. There was very this worldly, very fact-oriented, very fun, benevolent, and I think that comes across in Mark Twain and in Tom Sawyer and what's his name? God, Huck. Anyway, you'll correct me in a minute. Anyway, and in some of his other books and some of his aphorisms and wittinesses, yeah, he was amazing. He actually traveled traveled around the world and wrote about his travels, and even that is amazing and interesting and just a real American character. All right, Stephen. It seems many atheists are also nihilists because they don't have Ayn Rand, so they throw out objective morality along with God. I don't want to live with them either. What do you think of atheists who reject objectivism? I mean, there are a lot of people out there who reject objectivism, and a lot of atheists who don't know objectivism. But I don't think there are that many nihilists. I mean, I've talked about this before. Explicitly nihilistic people, there are very few of those. Huckleberry Finn, thank you. I knew it was Huckleberry. Huckleberry Finn. I'm surprised nobody else said it even sooner. But Jennifer said it. There we go. Jennifer said it, and then Lorena said it, and then So Huckleberry Finn was the name of the dog. Anyway, I don't think there are that many nihilists. I mean, most of the people I know who are secular or atheist, but who are not objectivists, are drifting. They don't know exactly, but they're not out there destroying. They don't enjoy burning the place down. They don't light, cheat, and steal. They're basically decent people who use their reason to try to navigate the world without an explicit morality, and I feel sorry for them. And the fact that they've rejected, or some of them rejected objectivism, it's sad because they'll never live up to their potential. They'll never fully manifest what they could do because they've given up on this unbelievable tool to live a good life, and they're winging it. And winging it it's just not as good. It's just not as good. But I don't know. I don't know. Yes, there's the Antifa. There's the Antifa nihilists. There's the leftist nihilists who truly want to see the world burn. There are really horrible people out there. But that's not a majority of the atheists. That's still a small minority. Wes, $50. Thank you. Really appreciate it. WC from New Zealand. Thank you. We made it to my expanded goal. I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you. Thank you for the support. All right. Thank you, Stephen. All right. Let's see. Andrew. A good example of a frozen abstraction is morality is Christianity to most. Why do you think it's frozen? I would say it's an error of knowledge, but then someone like Sam Harris seems to evade when exposed to Rand's ideas. I think people hold a lot of frozen concepts. I think most people don't do a lot of work on their concepts. Don't think through what a concept means and then, try to say, well, is it relevant today? I'll give you an example. Think about how many people in the world out there, including objectivists, who still think that left and right politically mean something. They concede that both parties, neither one of them is about individual rights, but the right is still individual rights, even though these people call themselves the right. The concept's frozen. Ayn Rand froze it for them. It doesn't anymore. It just doesn't serve that purpose anymore. So why are you holding on to it? So I don't know if that's exactly a frozen concept, but it's people just find it very difficult to think for themselves and to break out of particular patterns that they've embraced and that the world has embraced. In particular, when it comes to morality, the whole world has embraced. Everybody holds a particular view. You want to be different than everybody? You want to stand up to everybody? Look, and of all the people out there, I like Sam Harris, right? I think he's so good on so many different things. He's terrible on some things, but he's so good on so many different things that I like him, and I think it's sad that he's obsessed with this notion of no self and all these kind of mystical Buddhist or transcendental or whatever they call it notions. I think it's sad because I don't think Sam Harris can live the best life he's capable of because he's diverting too much of his attention away from self, and therefore for taking care of self and making sure he does what's good for self, and because he rejects the whole concept. So it's a shame because Sam has a fantastic mind. And his analysis of certain issues is some of the best out there. But this is what you get when this truly important concept called morality is so monopolized by religion, and that secular philosophers have not been brave enough, have not been courageous enough to stand up to it. I mean, it's getting better, I think, in philosophy, because there's a whole field of virtue ethics which looks more to Aristotle for its moral perspective than to Christianity. Paul says, he's quoting here, "From now on, I could step firmly on the ground that was under my feet and navigate based on my own reason and self-respect. My moral compass was within myself, not in the pages of a sacred book." Yeah, that's a great quote. It's from Ayaan Hirsi Ali, from her book Infidel, which is a fantastic book. And yes, I mean, unfortunately, Ayaan Hirsi Ali has rejected kind of Ayn Rand, and has become much more of a skeptic, right? She's embraced Hume and rejected Rand, which is too bad. But yeah, I mean, Ayaan Hirsi Ali is an atheist. She's a million times better off, even without Ayn Rand, than she was as a Muslim, or that she would be as a Christian. So she now, will struggle to find her morality, but she's going to be a good person. She's going to do basically good things because she's a thoughtful person, because she's going to use her mind to guide her life. Austin, how would an Objectivist Tech CEO, oh man, you keep asking us similar questions. How would the Objectivist Tech CEO respond to accusations of causing housing gentrification and wealth inequality? How would they respond if accused of censorship from the left, right? Would they have chief diversity officer? No, they would not have a chief diversity officer. Accused of causing housing gentrification and wealth inequality, they would just explain the economics of it. The housing gentrification is it's not a bad thing. It raises the value of real estate for poor people as well. It's a win-win. It's a win-win thing. There's no God-given right to living in the same place your whole life. Moving is not a sin. It's not a punishment. So he would just explain wealth inequality is just a function of the wealth you create. It doesn't make you a better person. It just makes you a wealthy person. A tech executive makes more money than a heart surgeon. It doesn't make him a better person than a heart surgeon. But there's wealth inequality there just because of the number of people you affect and the amount of value you create. It's not that hard to explain. And then how do you respond to censorship? Private enterprise does not censor, only government censors. The government should stop censoring and stop trying to influence me in terms of what I do and what I don't do, what I say and what I don't say, what I allow on my platform and not allow on my platform. That's my judgment and my judgment only. I cannot censor. I do not use force. I just dictate, in a sense, how my private property is going to be used. It's mine. The government should just stay out of it. And no, you wouldn't have a chief diversity officer. Again, assuming you're already a success, and you just do it without offending people. It's not that hard to present all of that without offense. I hire the most talented people. I don't care about their skin color. I don't care about their sex. I hire the most talented people for the job. That's who gets in here. I have these objective tests. I try to train my people to evaluate talent and to bring me the most talented people possible. That's what I think America is. That's what I think the American dream is. And that's what I think leads to economic success for everybody that everybody benefits from. Thank you, Austin. Paul Allen says, hey there, Yaron, good to see you live. Yeah, great to have you live. Dave Dean says, does living a moral life correlate to IQ? No, not at all. Not on either side, right? I know relatively low intelligence people who live a moral life, and I know people who are highly intelligent who live highly immoral lives. Daniel says, what do you think of the term free thinker? I don't particularly like it. Thinker is good enough. Free of what? So I think if you're a thinker, independent thinker, I like that better. Independent thinker, somebody who wants the facts, that to me is best. Free versus an unfree thinker. If you're unfree, you don't think. So, Wesley, Europeans don't want to work long hours, go to church, get married, or have kids. Wait, what do they want to do? Good that they don't want to go to church. Getting married, I've been married 40 years, but I'm not like, you got to get married. And you can have kids without getting married. So I don't think that's even correlated. It's sad that people don't want to have kids. I think that relates to a different issue that I've talked about before. It's about view of the future, pessimism, optimism. Pessimistic people don't invest in the future. And the biggest investment you make in the future is kids. We live in a pessimistic culture. They don't want to work long hours. That's too bad. For them, I think that's an immorality, but they suffer the consequences. They have lower standard of living because of it. They could make a lot more money. They could live at a higher standard of living. They don't want that. I think it's a mistake. It's a lack of morality, but it's not correlated to church going or not church going. I mean, I don't know why you're listing those things. I don't know what's the connection between them, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to go to church, but I work long hours. Why are those two related somehow? Anyway. That Doodle Bunny, have you tried to get on Bill Maher's new podcast? He's having everyone on lately. No, but as I told you, the best way to get me on a podcast is for you to ask them to bring me on. If I go and ask, it's unlikely that they will respond, but they might respond to you guys, to their fans, asking for a particular person to be brought on. That is the most effective way. If you want to get me on Joe Rogan, if you want to get me on anything, ask Joe Rogan. Ask Bill Maher. I have not tried myself. But again, if you want me on, email them, tweet them. Justin says, Peterson turned many atheists into religionists. I know, sad. Justin said, updated thoughts on Richard Hanania. Not since, what was it, yesterday or the day before yesterday? Yeah, 2 days ago I did an update on Hanania. If you're interested, you can read it there. Nothing since then. Vuldrin says, in the bell curve, Charles admits that the book raises more questions than it answers about what IQ captures and the role of genetics versus environment. Most people talking IQ know nothing about it. Yeah. But Charles is partially responsible for that because he says that in the book, but then as over the years as he's talked about it, he doesn't give that impression. He gives the impression that IQ measures intelligence and it's a way to evaluate people, and it's different quote races have different IQ on average, and so he makes a big deal out of it than should be made. All right, thank you guys. We blew through a goal. I really appreciate that, and got a lot of material covered. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for all the support. Thank you, Troy, again. That really got us over the top there. I will see you all tomorrow morning for another news briefing. I think it's at 1 o'clock. No, tomorrow's early. So tomorrow will be 12 o'clock Eastern time. That's assuming I get back from the dentist. I've got a dentist appointment at 10 o'clock. So I'm hoping that that doesn't drag on. So I should be here in time. So 12 o'clock tomorrow, and then on Saturday at 3 p.m. Saturday, 3 p.m. will be a show. Not sure exactly what it'll be. Probably something on economics on Saturday. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Appreciate your support very much, and I will see you all tomorrow.